Ja, mal gucken, ob das geil wird. Ah! Ach.
Ja, du sollst ja das einfach nicht machen.
It has almost been a month since I wrote the first few letters of my script for the video, The Winter Arc. I guess I didn't know where this ship is possibly heading to, but I didn't start with an exact destination anyway. I'm still fully absorbing every single teaching life has to offer, and the more I work on myself, the wider my spectrum of observing and understanding life gets. I am genuinely grateful that there are people out there who appreciate my work, and furthermore, are eager to flatten the road ahead of me, either by encouraging me for my effort, or by giving me perspectives of theirs, which I don't have words for to show my deepest gratitude. The time I invested in the production of my videos is immense. I started to take my script a bit more seriously than I used to. It is not just a guideline for my audio recordings anymore, so that I don't talk gibberish holding my microphone, but I feel responsible of the word I speak, since I know the number of souls visiting my videos on a regular basis has been growing lately. I really want this channel to be a window of opportunity, a safe place for lost souls who feel alone in this big, empty world, but more importantly, for me, myself, and I. Last week, I attended a weekly dinner meal with my friends, most of them coming from Malaysia, which eventually turned out to be one of my favorite circle of friends. I remember my very first dinner with these guys back in January, as my good friend Melody invited me to come over to have some hot pot. It was to celebrate the Chinese New Year, so I knew the food was going to be great. I barely had any Asian friends in Germany, so I convinced myself that this could be an awfully good start to hang around with some. I came for the food, but eventually stayed for the talks. Now this is something I really enjoy doing every Friday or Saturday, without getting exhausted, for draining down my social batteries, which always seem to be the key factor of me hating such social activities. Slowly getting to my point, the tasty meals ended up turning out to be a therapy appointment of mine lately. I used to feel really uncomfortable for talking about my problems and insecurities in front of other people, and there are only a countable amount of faces that know my rather unpleasant history. Well, I always believed sharing my triumph never doubles or triples the happiness while sharing with others, owing to my trust that no human being is purely kind, as they shall never feel true joy or happiness from the success of another being. Same principle. I always thought sharing my deepest traumas wouldn't divide the sorrow, but double it instead, dragging my fellow people into the sinkhole where I find myself. These people, though, are the ones who internally changed my perspective of humanity, since they greeted me into their group with kindness and interest, without hesitation, providing me another safe place for my soul, but this time, where I didn't have to be alone. My friend Chihao suggested me, well, rather forced me, to talk about myself in this video. Not just to let my audiences know more about me, but to help me to recover and be aware of my strengths as a person, but also my weaknesses. Even though I would usually start talking about my flaws and mistakes, but today, I'm about to turn the tables and start talking about my strengths. Alright, here goes nothing. Objectively saying, I think I have a good basis of understanding when it comes to culture. It has always been my childhood goal to push myself into foreign environments, new cultures, new foods, new weathers, new languages, and new people. I never felt truly exhausted experiencing them, but took them rather as a gift, since I was always amazed by untouched territories in life and the first feelings I got getting to know them. I spoke English and Korean growing up as a kid, and since I started to go to school in Germany, I can also communicate in Spanish and started learning Italian recently. At this point of my life, German is probably the easiest language for me to form my thoughts into, and I'm confident to say that I have passion in learning new languages. After living in Germany for 7 years now, I often see people being surprised knowing that I wasn't born here, but still speak the language just like them. This is my first strength I want to talk about: adaptability. I think I know very well how to adapt to the conditions that I'm given. The second strength I want to point out is that I'm not a quitter. Maybe it is the influence of having an older brother who was always superior in all terms: physical strength, knowledge, and experience. Being a kid, I really hated losing against my brother, or to anybody else, which made me the fighter I am today. I feel frustrated and terribly unsatisfied when I can't finish the job I started, sometimes finding myself holding on to game over situations, still giving in everything I can just to reach the end line. I unfortunately kind of lost this personality over time after hearing it from outsiders who claimed me being too stubborn about things and were less amused from my persistency. I used to be insecure a lot about myself, which is the reason why I lost some of the strengths that I used to hold, from the fear and stress I got for being a bit different. But let me talk about my strengths first. The third and last strength I want to talk about myself is the ability of self-reflection. Thanks to my parents, I always had a very strict guideline of my own moral standards starting at a very young age. I'm not saying I was perfect. I did make a ton of mistakes in my life, but still had the ability to criticize myself for my actions and worked on myself with the lessons I learned through these self-reflections. It is probably also one of the reasons why I am such an overthinker, because I can't go to bed in ease without clearing out my mind for the actions I've done throughout the day. I always need to fulfill my moral expectations before I make the same mistake twice, and therefore learned how to admit my own mistakes and take responsibility for it. I know confessing one's sins to other people is one of the most embarrassing feelings that one could have, but it is not even comparable with the weight of guilt I carry with me, while knowing that I'm not even half the person I expect me to be, and I'm not being honest about myself. Now, just like a coin with two sides, I'm also very aware of my flaws. The first flaw of mine is that I kind of live in a fantasy world. I'm a huge fan of spontaneity, which occasionally drives me into wrong lanes that I didn't intend to be on, because everything feels right, at least in the moment you are living in, when you convince yourself that it is the right choice, and I do trust my guts a bit too much. As much as I know I can choose from complete rationality, but also do make impulsive choices following the feelings of my heart. It's like an angel whispering into my left ear, a demon into my right, and I don't have a consistency of letting the angel win, but let the wind choose my direction. 2 minutes ago, right before I started proceeding with my script, I was looking at the Sony cameras, the W4D1 and the lenses for it, because I really want to get a new camera which would significantly upgrade the quality of my videos. This leads me to my second biggest flaw, which is my obsession of perfection. I am a person who wants everything to be done perfectly as I imagined. As much as I love being spontaneous, it takes ages for me to start a project since I want everything to be perfect at the start of the journey. I feel the pressure and dissatisfaction when my setting for a certain job is not perfectly prepared, leading me to postpone the start, while not making any efforts regarding the task. Well begun is half done, A job with an awfully bad start is still much better than a job undone. Still, it is so hard for me to accept the fact that the potential is not unlocked at its fullest, eventually leading me to procrastination. My last weakness is not being confident about my strengths, but still being critical about my flaws. I always wanted to be away from arrogance, and with my fast-forwarded conclusion, I thought that confidence frequently leads to arrogance. But this video will be the very first footstep of mine to be a more confident person of my strength, using them as my weapon, to be a better individual while being fully aware of my flaws, potentially turning them into future strengths of mine by doing exactly the opposite thing. I have a good feeling about this. At the end of the day, accepting ourselves for the people we already are will be the sturdiest, most stable foundation where we can keep building ourselves the person we dream of being. Let us be proud of who we are. It is just me, and only me, who can mold and sculpture ourselves to be the best version of me, myself, and I.